Thanks for agreeing to jump on a call with me. We've had
Absolutely.
lots, we've had lots and lots of questions as we've been raising funds for Renna's service dog. So I thought it would be helpful to get one of the experts um, to kind of sit down with us and really just go through some of these questions. I did ask our followers specifically what questions they have. So some of them are coming from kind of like our community and people that know us or have been following our journey as we're raising funds. And then some of them are just questions that I probably know the answer, but I feel like it would be really helpful to have you kind of just give us more information or more reasoning behind some of these things.
Yeah.
And I know some of it might be, obviously, we didn't practice any of these questions or anything. So some of them might be super specific to Rena, some of them might be more kind of just generic.
Mhm.
I think knowing the questions, I think some of them might be here's like an overview, but we're going to connect you with this person or you're going to learn more as you go through the process. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so I guess I will let you kind of introduce yourself and then we can kind of go back and forth with some Q&A.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name's Devin. I'm one of the client services coordinators here at Paws For Ability. I'm also on our development team, so I work very closely with our clients like Brenda and Renna, and going through their application process, answering any questions they have, and then helping them through the fundraising process as well, which Brenda has done a wonderful job with. So, I'm happy to just kind of explain more about what a service dog is going to do for Renna, and maybe get the word out there to other families that this might support and be a good option for also.
Yeah, so that actually leads me to probably my first question. I wasn't going to start with this, but I think it's really important. So when I was researching different organizations that we could potentially work with for Service Dog for Rena, one of the things that led me to Four Paws for Ability was the fact that you work with children that have disabilities. Some of the organizations didn't work with children, or the child had to maybe be 12 and older, or it would only be specific to an alert dog, maybe for seizures or blood sugar or something like that, or a specific need. Like, obviously, we've all heard of seeing eye dogs, things like that. So, Renna has a rare genetic disorder called Pitt-Hopkins. She also has an autism diagnosis, but we really focus on the Pitt-Hopkins because that comes with multiple disabilities. Probably the main one is developmental disabilities and delays. And although she walks, she's kind of like a toddler learning how to walk at almost 6 years old. So she does have a lot of struggles with mobility and speech. We're trying to teach her how to speech with a communication device. So that's all that to say, that's kind of what brought us to Four Paws because you guys have helped. I think I read hundreds of families
Mhm.
with children with disabilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about maybe that like specific segment of what
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah, so you're right. Four Paws is kind of a unique organization in that we work with children and we have no minimum age requirement for our kiddos to place them with a service dog. And that's because we're kind of the pioneers of that three-unit team model that we've been talking a lot about when we had like our interview and everything. But that's where there's three people in this process or three individuals in this process. So there's the parent or guardian or trained individual that is handling the dog, giving them their commands. And then there is the child that the dog is trained to support. So this really helps out with those kiddos that are younger and not able to handle their dog yet, to make them, but they would still benefit from a service dog. So it makes it still possible to have that in their lives. So that is something that's pretty unique to Four Paws. We're so glad that we're able to help out that portion of the community where there's not as many opportunities available elsewhere. But like you said, we have helped out. We've placed over 2,000 service dogs. That was last year that we hit that milestone. So this year will be about 2,100, mostly with children. And then we also work with veterans with disabilities as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Most of them are those children and child placements in that 3 unit team model. Kiddos, I know I get a lot of questions about my kiddo's like 1 year old. Is that fine? And it's completely fine as long as there's ways that we can find for that service dog to assist you guys and help that family out. Then we can absolutely place a service dog with these families.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's amazing. One question that I did get we've had a lot of media coverage, and
Mhm.
they were asking, um, has there been a rise to the need of service dogs? Because just where we live in the Lehigh Valley, they know of 3 to 4 families that are going through the process or have just gone through the process. And a local newspaper interviewed at least 3 of us recently, and they're putting together a piece. But when I was talking to the reporter, she said they've really seen a lot more recently with children getting or working towards service dogs. So have you seen like an increase, or why do you think that it appears that way, or is it?
Yeah, there's definitely an increase in demand. And I think that's partly due to like the visibleness of this, like people seeing service dogs out in public or hearing other people's stories and realizing that this might be beneficial to them and their family. I think it's also due to some rise in diagnoses for kiddos with conditions that were previously harder to diagnose or get that support for. So, with as doctors start to learn more about these conditions that kiddos have, they start to realize different ways and different accessibility techniques that could help out these kiddos. So they're turning them towards service dogs too, pointing them in that way. And so we're getting a lot of support from the medical community, recognizing the benefits of a service dog and guiding those families towards that avenue. And also just people seeing a service dog out in public with someone with a kiddo that looks like theirs or has the same conditions that they do and realizing that that would help them as well. So they reach out and also want to go down that path. So definitely an increase in demand. And yeah, I think it's just due to seeing how beneficial it is for other people.
Yeah, I would totally agree with a lot of that. I feel like having a diagnosis has been super helpful because Renna got diagnosed at 2.5.
Mm.
She'll be 6 on Leap Day of this year, so February 29th. Well, next year, I guess.
Yeah.
And once we got that diagnosis, it kind of opened the door for so much more help and support. So I could see how that could lead to additional support, like a service dog for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I do know for me, the one thing that kind of put it in front of me was um, Facebook kept suggesting this one friend, and the background, like their profile picture, the background was the 4 Paws for Ability, probably like the graduation background or
Mhm.
something, and they had their dog, and she just kept popping up as a friend suggestion, right? And then Renna plays baseball for the Miracle League of the Lehigh Valley, and they have a service dog. It's through a different organization, but still, I ran into them at outpatient therapy and I started asking the mom a bunch of questions about the service dog. Um, Her son is older, so no need to go through 4 Paws. They went a different route.
Mhm.
But she was just telling me how amazing the dog has been with her son and how he's really helped him kind of be more independent and connect with others. Um, and then I don't even remember who, but somebody told me I needed to reach out to a specific mom, and it was that mom that
Yeah.
I had seen on Facebook over and over again.
Mhm.
So we had phone call. They had just brought their dog home maybe a few months prior. And my number one question was, okay, so I've been thinking about a service dog, but would it give me more work? Like
Mhm.
me as the primary handler, would it give me more work than just the intensive amount of work and care Renna needs to begin with?
Mhm.
And she said to me that it has been the most helpful thing they've ever done. It kind of allows them to not be on such high alert all the time, which we are when our kids don't necessarily understand safety and danger
Mhm.
and are super curious and just take off,
Yeah.
right? Like, So that just really helped me kind of like solidify this is what I want to do. This is how I want to move forward. Have you heard similar things with families?
Yeah, kind of the way I describe it to people is that you're getting another set of eyes in your home, so someone else to look out for that kiddo and watch out. And I always say that they're their own shadows. Like they bond so much that the kid follows the dog around, the dog follows the kid around. Like they are each other's shadow, and they're always together. So it definitely helps out. There's someone else there to help you out in the home and keep an eye on them. They are like a living, breathing creature that you're bringing to your home, and so they do require a little bit of like maintenance training throughout the life, but that's just to maintain those skills that are so beneficial. So it's definitely a worthwhile investment to keep up with that, to have that help constantly in the house, and just know that you're not alone, and that there's someone else looking out for you. So I've definitely heard from families that they appreciate that peace of mind also, and just feeling a little bit less on edge because they know there's someone else looking out for them also.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now that we know we're getting closer, we're not close, but we're, in the process of getting Ren a service dog. There are so many times when I'm just out and about with Renna and I'm thinking that dog would be so helpful in this situation. The
Mhm.
dog would have done this to help her stay safe. Oh, there are those steps that Renna constantly walks over to. I hope that dog just says, "Nope, Renna, we're not going that way."
Mhm.
So I'm constantly thinking of the ways that the dog will help to alleviate some of my constant no Renna, no Renna, no Renna, and like chasing her around. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So you mentioned kind of like ongoing training. I know we'll kind of let's talk about that, but then we'll kind of backtrack and talk
Yeah.
about the process a little bit more.
Mhm.
But ongoing training, I also feel like that was a very important thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so after our families come here for our 10-day training course, which we actually have one going on right now, so if you hear anybody out there, they're training. But you learn from our trainers about how um, they're kind of like us. We need to kind of keep up our skills and work on those things. Like if you are used to being super active and then you're not active for a while and you got to build back up that strength. So if you just keep up with like a little obedience session weekly or a little bit daily just to keep up those skills and keep them top of the shape for that, then that helps them just be more successful going on. It's just a muscle that they kind of constantly have to work to keep up with it. So the trainers will walk our families through different exercises that they recommend to do just weekly or regularly just to keep up those skills and make sure that they're staying on top of it. But it's really just to make sure that they are the best they can be for as long as they can be with you. So yeah, it's like any dog, just kind of keeping up those skills and making sure that they aren't getting rusty or anything, especially for ones that may not be used as often. So we talk a lot about those like peace of mind, worst case scenario tasks that the dog has to do that may not happen regularly. Like for our kiddos who have like seizure alert, if there's anything that they're not as frequent, then it's practicing mock seizures just to keep up that skill so that when the time comes that you need that in a real life scenario, you know that you can rely on them to do it. So it's definitely adding just a little bit of exercises into the day, but we've seen families kind of um, incorporate that and just into regular life. So it's practicing like at a restaurant, holding it down underneath the table, and that kind of counts as them just practicing their skills. And we see that just going out in public with them is just kind of keeping up with that. And that's something that you probably would regularly do anyways. So it definitely helps just keep up those skills, make sure they don't get rusty, and are the best that they can be.
Yeah, I actually ended up meeting that family this summer. We were at a autism picnic, I believe it was, and the dog was there and I forget specifically what it was, but I think that they had like maybe like a shirt or something with their son, and then their son and dad, I believe, went and kind of hid.
Hmm.
The mom and the dog had to find him. I guess one of the things that the dog does for this family is help if the child were to elope.
Yeah,
So
that's like
I did see
tracking.
that,
Yep.
and it was funny. The dog like takes off, and the
Oh
mom's
yeah.
like, "Okay."
Yeah, it's a fun game for them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really cool to kind of experience and see that and know, like, okay, it's kind of like a game, but it's for real life.
Hmm.
If, their son were to elope and they couldn't find him, the dog could like do search and rescue kind of a thing.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so let's I know I asked lots of questions. So
You're great with quick
let's go
questions.
to some of our questions that were asked for from our community. Um, so I know you and I talked about this during the interview process. The question is, what specific tasks will Rena's service dog be trained to help her with? And I kind of have like an overview, but I'd like you to kind of just lead this part and then I can add to it because I feel like there's so much more the dog will be able to do than I even can imagine or realize.
Yeah, yeah, we talked in our interview about like those contracted tasks versus like just ways that being a companion and constant companion for Renna help also and like a social bridge. I think we talked about that as well. So like those contracted tasks with the specific things that the dog is trained to do. We talked a lot about, you mentioned recently about those stairs that she likes to try to do because she's so determined. And so that dog can provide some counterbalance and temporary weight bearing for situations like that to help her build up her confidence and build up her endurance and stamina. We talked a lot about that and help you out with your worrying about her encountering those scenarios to help her out with just stability and getting down stairs, stepping off curbs, things like that. And then we also talked about the counterbalance just for walking in general, just helping with her gait. And you said she's very curious, likes to explore. So now her service dog can help her walk around and just get everywhere that she wants to go. And we also mentioned some of like that stand and brace that the dog can do. So that would be like that more temporary weight bearing, like stepping down off something. So that those stairs won't limit her. When she goes out in public and you see some stairs, she's like, I know I can do it. I have my service dog with me. We also talked about some behavior disruptions, like when Renna gets upset and she's crying, or when she's feeling really sick and she's getting upset, the dog would come over and just provide like that companionship. But they're trained to provide deep pressure therapy by laying across their partner, just kind of have that grounding weight sensory experience, and then also can come over and kind of do like a little nuzzle and put their little snots in her face and give her kisses if she's upset and make her happier. And then like that behavior disruption of coming over and kind of bumping her on the leg if she gets a little hyperfixated or is really upset and doing something that you'd like the dog to help out with. Just kind of telling them to go over there and help her out so that she has her buddy with her. Um, Another thing that we talked about was when she's sleeping overnight and she might start choking or throwing up, and you're in a different room, and that's really stressful for parents. That's where I said, like, you have that other set of eyes. So we were talking about the service dog sleeping with her and doing that bark alert to the sound of retching and throwing up so that you know to come in and help her. And that also helps with just like independence of now you get to, if you were sleeping with her previously or families like that who usually spend the night with their children, they can now kind of give them that independence because you know that there's someone else in there watching for them overnight and helping you guys out. You know that they'll alert and let you know that they need some help and come in and help them out. Yeah, and then we talked about just also like that social bridge and just helping introduce her to more kiddos and getting out there in the world and making them just a little bit easier to navigate those scenarios that come up. Um, yeah, those are like those contracted tasks. But then yeah, we also just said like companionship, just being her buddy, going out with her. We also mentioned like while she's in therapy and working on like those fine motor skills that you can incorporate the dog into it also, like learning to feed her pup and working on life skills and again like independence and just growing up and really taking charge and giving that responsibility of having their buddy and taking care of their buddy. It's just so many different ways, but contracted and not. Those dogs are just amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. One thing that I think will be really helpful besides that like safety factor, because that is a major concern for me, is because she's not able to verbally say words. She has ways of communicating, but it can be really confusing, especially for other kids, because she loves people and she
Mhm.
will go up to people and she'll start like grabbing or like hitting and not in a malicious way. She's just trying to communicate. I
Yeah.
feel like the dog would be so helpful for those interactions because maybe the dog could help with an introduction instead
Mhm.
of Renna just hitting this person.
Yeah.
And kids can get confused about why this little girl is coming up and acting that way. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that dynamic might change with a dog involved. Um, because it's I sometimes feel bad for her because she really wants to make friends and she tries so hard, but at this point, she's just not able to verbally say things, and she has a hard time with her device, her communication device, so she's not able to necessarily push what she wants to say.
Mhm.
So I think that that'll be a really fun thing to see. And I guess that kind of leads me to another question that I've had is, will Rena's service dog, since I'll be the handler
Mhm.
and she's more like the recipient, will her service dog be able to go into school with her?
Yeah, so that kind of depends school district to school district. I know we are hoping to have a call soon with Brenna's teacher to kind of talk through that and answer any questions they have and kind of lay out what that would look like. But for our kiddos who are on that 3 unit team model, it just looks like a conversation with the schools to see how they provide an aide, somebody else to handle the dog for the kiddos when they aren't able to handle them themselves. So some are great and provide those aides. And we also have families that choose to contract outside of the school and just have somebody that they know their kiddo's comfortable with. They know that they've trained to handle the dog to go into school with them. And there's also some parents that choose to navigate that with them and go with them. So lots of options. We really try to work with you to get the dogs in school because we know that they would be so beneficial in those environments. But yeah, it just really looks like a conversation with the school district, and these conversations are great to have sooner rather than later just to get the ball rolling and let them know that a service dog might be entering the school. But that's where we have our client services team here to help navigate those scenarios and help advocate for you guys and teach the school how to handle that dog or come here for training if they'd like so they feel comfortable, everything like that. But we'd absolutely would have the goal of the dog attending school with her.
Okay. Yeah, Renna's school district has been amazing in all ways. And they actually just started a program called Paws in the Halls.
Mhm.
So each school, elementary, the intermediate slash middle school, and high school, they all have like a therapy dog
Oh, yeah.
that comes in. And I don't know if they're all at that point where they are therapy dogs, but they're going through this training to get to be therapy or support. I think it's therapy dogs.
Mhm.
And so whenever I'm subbing, I'm a paraprofessional sub at Renna's elementary school. And whenever I'm there, there's a little dog named Maple. And I just love seeing the little kids all just interact with her. I probably interact maybe even more because I'm always like, oh, Maple's here. But it's been so amazing just to see the kids just kind of interact with the dog. And it might even be, they might be walking down the hall and they just bend down. It's a little dog. And then
Mhm.
down they go, hi, Mabel. They pet her and they keep going.
Yeah, just
Um,
brightens your day.
yeah, exactly. So I think they're going to be on board and
Yeah.
very accommodating. So we are looking forward to having a conversation with her teacher and with Four Paws. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was definitely a question, and I
Mhm.
think it would be really good for Renna to be able to go that route too. So I know that's down the road.
Yeah.
Um, so one question that we had over and over again is actually it's two questions. Is what kind of dog is Renna getting, and when is she getting her dog?
Yep, yep. So you are in the awaiting placement stage of this process, or we're getting this fundraising in. Once fundraising is completed, that's when our clients enter awaiting placement, and that's about an 18 to 20 month wait at the current moment. So you're looking at that timeline of when you'd actually come here to Four Paws in Ohio, meet the pup, work with our trainers for 10 days, learn everything about them before you head on home with them. So that's kind of that timeline. When that timeline starts is once fundraising has been completed. So before then is that application process that you went through, the interview, and then fundraising. And you guys had a great support for fundraising. You were awesome at it, got it done really quickly, and had a great community support. So Four Paws is also here to make that process easier and go through it quicker. But the entire process takes about 2 years. And that's due to Four Paws. Here on site, we have our in-house breeding program. So we breed all of them in site. So it's when we're looking at our clients about 2 years down the line, that's when we start looking at the litters that we need to have. So if we know have a bunch of clients that want those hyperallergenic dogs, then we know we need to start breeding some doodle litters. So that's why that process kind of takes that time. And then each dog graduates between a year and a half to 3 years old. So that's also just how long their training takes to have enough time to be socialized out in public and make sure that they're confident and have been exposed to everything so that they will be the most successful they can be. And then also coming back to our training facility here for 4 to 6 months to learn those professional contracted tasks and work specifically towards Renna. So I know you guys have been looking at our golden lab breed. So we work with those golden retrievers, Labrador retrievers and mixes, and then we also have those doodles and poodles. But Rena's looking at getting a golden lab, which will be a great size, especially to do that mobility work. They're sturdy, and they'll be great to handle everything that she needs. I see your
So,
little Fritz.
yeah, we have two Jack Russells, and so I don't know if he'll come here. Come here. Come here.
Cute.
So the one is 15.
Oh.
So Sammy's 15, and the other one's not in here, but she's 11. And that's another reason why I was like, oh, you're getting old, buddy.
No.
Should start thinking about what kind of a dog to get for Renna because I had these obviously before I had Renna. So
Mhm.
Renna had no choice. But I feel like moving forward, we do have a little bit more flexibility with finding the right dog for her. So.
Yeah.
Um, so we talked about the type of dog that Renna will probably be getting. How does the match actually happen as the process kind of progresses?
Yeah, so like we said, you guys are in like that awaiting placement stage. So once our clients enter that part of the wait, about 9 to 12 months before they are meeting their service dogs, we'll send out some additional information that we need. And that's going to look like what we call making a good match form. So this is where we ask some questions about just like the personality and likes and dislikes that Rena has for a dog. Like maybe she prefers one that doesn't give kisses. So we know some kiddos that have sensory preferences and maybe don't appreciate that sensory. So things like that. Or I like a dog that doesn't jump on my furniture, or I want one that doesn't sleep in the bed. Just preferences of the family, so then we can look at our dogs down the line. Once it comes time to start selecting a dog for Renna, we would look at that dog's personalities and also their strengths to do the tasks that we need. So it's kind of a process of looking at those contracted tasks, making sure that they are good at doing like medical alert and send things if need be, and then also looking and making sure they match up with our families who might prefer a calmer dog or those other little qualities that I mentioned. So we utilize that match check-in form and we utilize just knowing what we need that dog to do and evaluating them to make sure that they have those strengths and that desire to work and do those tasks also, because we really want them to enjoy working and it just be fun and then love their jobs so that they will love to do it for Renna when you guys go home and do it for years to come. So those are the main things that we kind of look at to find that perfect match for you guys.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. So I guess kind of piggybacking on that, why would, okay, I know people do things differently when it comes to service dogs.
Mhm.
Some people will get a dog, will get a puppy, and then they'll bring in someone into the home to do the training.
Mhm.
And obviously, that might work better for someone else. And we decided not to go that route. Can you maybe talk a little bit more in depth why it might be beneficial to go this longer 18 to 20 month route versus get a puppy, get a trainer, you get what you want right away.
Yeah, so kind of like you mentioned, there's that like owner training aspect. This is kind of what we call like people who do that route or working with a private trainer. And I want to say that there's no right or wrong way to go about getting a service dog and training them. It's just kind of what works best for each family. Like you said, you kind of looked at your options and found out that this would be the best option for your family. We see a lot of people come to us for this version of getting a service dog due to the guarantee that you're going to get a service dog who's going to be successful and work for 8 to 10 years. When people choose to do owner training and select a puppy from a litter to buy, there's always the chance that something might come up that they might wash from being a service dog, or you find out a year down the line that they don't like to work. They just aren't successful at doing that tasks. And then that comes into that difficult part where you are deciding whether or not to get another one and try again. But here with Four Paws, you know that you were going to get a service dog that likes to work, is successful at those tasks, and is ready to go home with you at that time. So it's a longer waiting period, but it's also you might feel a little bit more secure in that decision of of knowing that that dog is ready and not having to take the risk of something potentially happening in the training aspect. When you have like that one dog that you chose to buy. So you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, versus we will look at the dogs that we have and really identify that one that's perfect for you guys. So yeah, seeing success both ways, but I think that's why people come here is just to kind of remove that stress aspect, from that prospect. Also, families who have children with disabilities, you got a lot on your plate, a lot to manage already. So it might be also difficult to add on training another creature in your home to do something as well. So I think it's also a little bit easier, of an avenue for families with multiple kiddos with disabilities, just to kind of take that part off your shoulders, and you don't have to worry about getting them to that point. It's just that kind of maintenance, working it out at home after you get placed. So I kind of see like the both those ways.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I am already overwhelmed and I have way more than I can even handle right now.
Mhm.
And to think about helping in that process and having someone come into our home, it's just too much. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's another thing that I
We're trying
love.
to make it easier on you guys. It's not trying to add something to your life. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, let's just kind of go make sure we got all these. I definitely have one that I know people have asked again multiple
Mhm.
times. Um, okay, so we kind of had the timeline. Um, so someone asked, how often will we work directly with trainers throughout the process? So I guess they're probably asking like before we get the dog and after we get the dog, how much will we kind of interact with the trainers that are working with the dog during training and then after we have the dog at home?
Yeah. So leading up to placement, you're mostly working with our client services team and, like I said, finding that perfect match that's getting all the information we need. I believe about a month prior, you'll start having a phone call with the, lead senior trainer. So that's the trainer that is going to be leading your class. When you know what your class is and you're coming to class, she will have a call with you just to answer any questions you guys have before you come into class. And then you'll work with them very directly during those 10 days. And then post placement, our trainers will check in with you periodically just to make sure that that transition home has gone okay and that just for the life of the service dog, years down the line, everything is still going all right. So they will check in with us, our clients weekly, and then kind of bi-weekly, and then monthly, and then kind of fizzle out. All of our clients are provided with like our emails, our phone call to reach out if anything would come up, and they're there to schedule a phone call, or if they're more of a local client, do a home visit, come back to Four Paws and evaluate the dog or help out work on site. And that's kind of when you're working with our professional trainers, directly, but it's definitely some contact with them, prior to class just to answer any questions you have, get to know them, meet the other families because you guys are going to spend a lot of time together. And then it's 10 full days of training and working with them, in our classroom environment and out in public to, gain all the knowledge that they know and learn about your dog and really feel comfortable and confident going home with them.
Okay. Yeah. Um, that's another thing I loved too, that it's kind of like that ongoing support. So we have another Pitt Hopkins family who is at the point where I guess their training is scheduled for January.
Mhm.
So they're going to be traveling from Virginia to Ohio. And I've seen that she's still doing fundraising, but now kind of for that trip.
Mhm.
Um, do families have like an on-site place where they stay, or they just are there for the training and then they're kind of on their own for like food and lodging and all those things?
Yeah, so during actual like class working hours, you're in our training facility here at Four Paws, but then we ask for our families to stay within like a 30-minute radius of the facility, and that's either like a hotel, Airbnb, or we also have a partnership with our local Ronald McDonald House, where they save a couple rooms every month for our families to stay at for those accommodations. So those like costs and figuring that out is like on our families, but we have our wonderful Family Network Facebook page where they, if you make a post, you're like, hey, I know I'm coming to class soon. Any recommendations? Client families from the past will come out in full force to help out with recommendations, be like, oh, I stayed at this Airbnb and they were great and so accommodating, and things like that. But besides that, it's just staying here on class days. We have a client kitchen where there's always some snacks that our volunteers provide to kind of get you through the day. And we also have an hour lunch every day, so you have some time to decompress and rest before you come back in for the rest of class. That's kind of what it looks like, staying in the local area, recommending local restaurants that we know are so familiar because we have our families coming every month. They are very used to seeing those dogs come into those spaces and are great and accommodating. But yeah, it's just a great time to come and meet these other families too that have had a similar experience.
Yeah, that Facebook group has been super helpful. So I'm looking forward to staying connected with that group and then the families that we meet when we're there.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have partnered up with Support Now, and that's who we use. Like, that's the platform. I know you provide a platform
Mhm.
for the fundraising, but we've used Support Now, and we've just loved it so much because we can put what our needs are. And yes, we've been raising money for Renna's service dog, but we're also continuing to raise funds for that extra travel. Like I said, I'm a para sub at Renna's school. I work at my church, but when I'm not there, I'm not making money. So
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
nice to know that we'll have this little bit of a cushion from Renna's just supporters that
Mhm.
have really come together and rallied around us. And it's just been great to kind of have that like ongoing place to have people follow Renna, follow her journey, because we can put some updates on that Support Now page. But also if they want to like I caught it $5 Fridays. If someone has $5 where, maybe they don't buy a coffee out and about
Yep.
and they make it at home,
Yep.
and that $5 can go in Rena's account for Rena's service dog, maybe the travel for us or future needs.
Mhm.
Which that was another question, like, how are you going to afford future needs for this dog? Well, okay. By working, yes. But yeah, we know we have two dogs. We know it's an ongoing expense for vet and food and all of these things. Um, so we're not relying just on people to provide those things. We're working towards those things. And if someone wants to bless us with, something additional that would help with a vet bill or additional, I don't know, special food or whatever,
Mhm.
then great. We'll accept that blessing. But we are very aware that dogs have this additional cost.
Yeah.
I've had dogs pretty much my entire life, and I am
Yeah.
willing to make my own drinks at home every single day of my life so that we can have these amazing companions in our lives. So, but we are thankful that we have this little bit of overflow in Rena's account and the money. I don't know if other families do this, but I have the money just going into a savings account for Rena. And if there's any things that pop up, it's kind of like that emergency fund,
Mhm.
If anything pops up with Rena's service dog, or there's some sort of an intensive therapy she needs, or medical equipment insurance doesn't cover, we're going to have that little bit of buffer. And that also is kind of like that, that same feeling that the dog will provide, that kind of
Yeah.
peace of mind,
Mhm.
that'll give us a little bit of a peace of mind as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the trainers
um,
definitely talk to families too about certain things to do just to help out with the longevity of the service dog. Like we recommend getting like insurance in case anything would happen, just to help out our families understand what the ongoing cost would be also. I was like, we send all the families home after the 10-day course with a 35-pound bag of food that they're already on. So you can already have that going home as well as their monthly preventatives for the next month, just to kind of help you get that start before you keep going. But we definitely talk about those costs that incur with the service dog for the life of them, and what that would look like yearly. We have a little day where the families will hear from the trainers and things that they recommend, food wise, working through a local vet, just to kind of make that transition easier and that additional family member you can understand what it'll look like. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's great because I know that other local family that does have their dog, that was their first dog.
Hmm.
So for them, it was all new.
Yeah, learning experience. Yep, that's why the 10-day course is so nice just to learn everything that you need to know before you go home.
Yes.
Yep.
So excited for it. Okay, so here's the big question. Uh, People want to know, why does it cost so much?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, like we've been talking about, the cost from the entire process of a service dog, from breeding, raising, and training them, is around 40 to $60,000. And that's due to just vet costs. Like all of our dogs have all their vaccines, they've been spayed and neutered, they've had dental procedures done, monthly preventatives. So there's already those costs from the first 2 to 3 years of their life that go into that, as well as the cost of the professional training that's provided here at Four Paws. Each dog receives, on average, around 4 to 6 months of professional one-on-one training with our staff here that is included in that, as well as the costs of raising them. We have volunteers that gratefully bring that cost down, that foster them for the first year to year and a half of their life to make it a little bit more feasible and workable as an organization. But there's just a lot that goes into these dogs: medical cost, training wise, socializing, gear that they wear, all their vests and things that they go through during the process. That just makes it look like that. So it's just a lot that goes into them, but they're so worth it once they come home with you guys. And then for Pause, we recognize that that is quite a large sum of money. So we luckily have some very supportive donors and corporate sponsors and things like that that bring that cost down for our clients to their $20,000 fee for service. So each family is kind of awarded like a 50% scholarship on their service dog, just to kind of make it more feasible for families and hopefully make it a more obtainable goal and helping them fundraise towards that.
Yeah, the thing that was super helpful that you guys provided was that fundraising document. As soon as I got it, I'm like, I'm so excited to read through this. And I read through it and I just got all these ideas. And the thing that I decided to move forward with that was recommended is the shoe drive.
Yep.
So, yep, I've been working with Funds to Orgs for the past 2 months. And it's so crazy, but I feel like I found this like extra um passion that I
Yeah.
didn't had. Like I have enjoyed just connecting with our community and business owners, and doing this fundraiser has just been so exciting.
Yeah.
Um and I can tell you the shoes themselves is not what got us to our goal. But it is kind of like the vehicle that got us there, because by collecting shoes, we've really kind of been able to share Renna's story. Because who doesn't have a pair of shoes that they don't wear, but they wish they fit better or whatever, or they
Mhm.
maybe just have a shoe addiction and they have tons of shoes and they need to clean them out. But like, it was a way for Rena's community to kind of rally around her,
Mhm.
give something that really didn't cost them anything, for us to kind of just connect and share her story. And it's just, oh my goodness.
Yeah. You
We're
guys have
so
ended the story
thankful.
also.
We are so thankful for that organization and for you guys even like giving fundraising ideas, because by sharing about Renna's shoe drive, and we did a actual event where people came and dropped off their shoes and we
Mhm.
got media coverage on that. But by sharing her journey and her story through the shoe drive, we were able to raise those funds pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We still have the shoe, we're just collecting the rest of the shoes, because there were multiple strangers that said, "Hey, I want to kind of lead up a fundraiser collecting shoes." There's
Mhm.
local dog daycare and boarding facility. They said, we don't necessarily want to collect the shoes, but we want to run a mini fundraiser to collect funds, and we'll match up to a certain
Yeah.
amount from that. So we've had such an outpour of love and support,
Yeah.
and it really came like all these ideas stem from that fundraising document. So that's amazing too that you guys provide that. And then of course you being there, I'm always like emailing you, hey, I have a question. Hey, can
Yeah.
you edit this Canva for me? Can you create this?
Mhm.
So that's been super helpful too, to know that somebody is there, even though, I'm capable of doing a lot of things. I don't always have the time to do it. So it was
Mhm.
really nice to know that you were there
Of
during
course, yeah.
fundraising and
Yeah.
like I love that you made yourself available for a Q&A too.
Yeah.
Um, the one
Absolutely.
question that is not on my sheet at all, but would you mind sharing a little bit about your service dog? Because I'm assuming that's your service dog behind you.
Yes, this is, let's see if she'll get up. Sadie's, come here, Sadie. No, you can go underneath the table. Sadie, oh, she's hiding. Come here, Sadie.
Oh.
Oh, this is Sadie. This is one of our service dogs in training. So she's currently, I know, hi. Yeah, it's very exciting. She's currently in her advanced training stage. So she's learning those tasks to hopefully be matched with the family next year. But I kind of started out with Four Paws as a volunteer. So I've raised four dogs. Three went on to become service dogs. This one's actually my parents' foster. So we've raised her since she was born, actually. We got to see her
Oh.
born. But yeah, Sadie is one of our advanced training dogs. So she's here Monday through Friday working with her trainer, learning all of her tasks. She's currently learning some behavior disruption that like Brenda's dog will also be trained to do. And then she's learning some seizure alert at the moment.
Hmm.
So each dog here is so individual in their strengths and personalities. That's why that matching process is so fun, just to find that perfect match for them and for these families. And then they're also individually trained, like selected towards you guys, because each child's needs are different. And even if they have the same disability, they might have some other things going on or be at different ends of the spectrum of it. So each dog is so individually trained and chosen for each child that it is the perfect match. She's currently giving someone a big hug, but Sadie's been in
Oh.
training since I think September. So
Okay.
she has been working really hard for her family, and we're very proud of her.
Oh, she's
Yeah. Now she's
adorable.
gonna lay on her bed.
So here's just a fun question. How do you guys name the dogs?
Yep. Yeah, so there's two different ways. So a lot of that support that comes in for funding to make that fee for service look different for our families is from sponsorships. So we have litter sponsorships that are available. So a company, individual, group of people who just rally together to fundraise are welcome to do a $15,000 litter sponsorship, and they get to name all the puppies in the litter and have their own little litter theme. So Sadie specifically is sponsored by a individual who named them all after past pets that had passed away. So Sadie's kind of carrying on that pet's legacy and memory, and it's just a sweet thing for them to follow through with. So some of them are named that way, and then we also have the guardian homes. So that's the volunteers who take care of those mom and dad dogs. They all get to name one of their breeders' litters, so they get to pick the names for one of them, as well as we have some litter themes and names that we've collected from our volunteers that they've submitted that when there might not be a sponsorship lined up or a guardian home that needs to name the litter, then we kind of just get to pick one of those fun litter themes. So that's kind of how they get their names. Sometimes they're a little funky, but we also have families who choose to rename them later on, or like they've been working towards this for 2 years. Their kiddo has a name in mind, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is my dog. This is what they've been referring to it for 2 years. So they change their dog's name, and the dogs take to it great and are just happy to go home and be with their buddies
Oh,
finally. It's
yeah.
kind of the way to go.
I bet it's hard though, being a part of that training process and then seeing the dog go.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely hard, but it's so rewarding. Like it's a very bittersweet day. Like graduation day is today. If you wanted to tune in later, it's live stream on our Facebook once a month. But it's just seeing how they've already impacted their families' lives and made their lives better just in 10 days. It's just so rewarding to see that the dog is where they're meant to be and doing what they're supposed to do, and just makes it all worthwhile, especially if volunteers stay connected with the families post
Mhm.
placement and just get those little updates yearly or so. Like I send my fosters Christmas presents every year. So I send them like their favorite treats and toys that they had while they were in training with me. It's very worthwhile and a rewarding experience that makes the pain worth it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, both my Jack Russells were rescues,
Mhm.
and I got them through a Jack Russell rescue organization. And the foster mom, actually, both of them, they're two separate foster moms. I'm still connected to both of them on
Yeah.
Facebook. So they've seen like the journey over
Yeah.
Sadie was a puppy, so 11 years for her, and I got Sammy the prior year. So they've seen the journey of these dogs for 11 and
Mhm.
12 years now. And so
Yeah.
I just wanted to connect with them because I want them to see like these, all that hard work that you put into fostering and loving these dogs is continuing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's such a
oh,
special connection. Yeah.
exactly. So I love that. Um, okay, so as we kind of wrap things up,
Mhm.
I guess the last two questions would be, are there any things that our community can do to support us during the training and transition process? So, like, yes, our community has been helping us to raise funds. Is there anything that they could continue to do or do in the future that you've seen have has been helpful for families?
Yeah, probably just helping with that transition home. Like you said, it's a lot to bring home. A new family member is kind of how we see these pups. So helping with that transition home, whatever that may look like, helping you guys get home, and also just understanding that the dog's role. So educating themselves on knowing that that is really someone looking out for Renna and not just a family pet to say hi to. So also looking out to their community and letting people know, like, hey, like service dogs, we don't interact with them in public. They're working. That also helps just to make that easier once you guys go home. So you already know that you have a community that understands that role and hopefully won't interfere or make that more difficult as you're navigating this new world and this new partnership. So definitely seeing that being helpful and just educating people, also just spreading the word so that another family, I'm sure this will help out someone who is similar to Renna and could also benefit from a service dog. So supporting other people as well and just like I said, getting the word out there, being visible, helping out other families, helping you guys come home, helping you guys like out, like you said, like that additional funding that you may need to travel here. You said you have a great support system with a support now, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, support now, yeah, all those things just making that a little bit easier. I've seen families set up like meal train when you go home, like things like that, or during any like if Verna has any hospital stays, I've seen families do like the meal trains and help out with that, or knowing that you need some help with a service dog during a certain difficult time. There's just so many ways that that community can come out in full force and support you, and it's so great that you've already seen that with how they've supported your fundraising and getting you to this point.
Yeah, that was another reason I liked the sport now because there's other parts of it where you can do like a meal train. You
Yeah.
can do we need help with these certain things. So that was definitely a benefit too.
Mhm.
Um, you said something that made me think of another. Oh, okay. So sorry, I said two more questions,
Okay.
but we've had the question, how will the dog get along with other dogs? Like if Sammy is 17 and still with us, which I hope he lives
Yeah.
forever, and Sadie's 13, how is that dynamic usually when the service dog comes home and comes into that already existing family with other pets?
Mhm. Yeah, so that's something that the trainers, when you're here for that 10-day training course, will touch on and talk a lot about is like proper dog interactions and greetings. And so we usually don't recommend like on-leash greetings. And we'll walk you through like never saying hi to another dog in public or even on a walk around the neighborhood just to maintain that relationship with your dog and keeping them safe if anything were to happen. But our trainers will also walk you through how to transition home and introduce those dogs in a neutral environment where neither feels like ownership over a space. They won't feel like, hey, you're coming into my house. Like, who are you? So they might recommend that and just walk you through how to navigate that situation. And they'll definitely have like one of their little lectures that they'll talk about and help you know how to best go into that. And that's another unique thing about Four Paws is that we don't require there to be no dogs in the home. Some other organizations do for just like those reasons that I mentioned, just safety of the service dog, making sure everything goes smoothly. But that's where we just provide that additional support to help you feel confident going home and managing that. that introduction well and properly. So it's definitely a transition, especially for both dogs just to learn, but they will really figure each other out and will hopefully be best friends.
Yeah. If somebody is renting, I know that a lot of times there's this monthly fee,
Mhm.
but I believe if it's a service dog, those fees can be waived. Do you have any sort of like documentation or like is there some sort of like just in general like a certificate or something that we get to show like yes, this is a service dog. Yes, this dog can be on this airplane. Yes, this dog can stay
Mhm.
in this hotel. Things like that.
Yeah, so the first step I do for clients who are renting a property is before we even get to the interview stage, I will give their landlord a phone call and just educate them on those laws. It's the Fair Housing Act that protects service dogs and emotional support animals in homes. So they can't be charged that pet rent or pet deposit and can't be discriminated against. So if it's a no pet rental property, they have to let you guys in just to kind of hopefully help you out. So I start with that, with educating the landlords and the property owners on those laws and making sure that they have no concerns. And then once you do come here for class and you pass your final, we call it the public access test, just making sure everything's going okay. We provide a certification card. So that's a little card with a picture of Renna and her service dog that'll go in their vest. And you also get like a little laminated paper that says that you're a certified team through us. And so that's also something you can share with the landlords, rental property owners. And then every year we do that recertification process just to make sure that the dog's doing everything that they're supposed to, everything's been going well, and that transition home, and we provide that paperwork. And are also welcome to provide like a letter, reach out to us if you're having any issues, happy to provide a letter, have those conversations later on down the line also, like if landlords change or anything happens. But you're absolutely right, under the Fair Housing Act, they cannot be discriminated against or barred from coming into a property or charged those amounts. So we try to help you guys out, navigate that, and advocate for you guys as well, and make that process a little smoother.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that could be a question for people down.
Yeah.
That wasn't on my list, but in conversating, I thought of some different things. So I know you and I talked about this. We have our funds. We're figuring out the best way to get it to you. What does the process, I know we kind of touched upon it. What does the process look like from this point moving forward? There have been a lot of people who have helped us and they say, I can't wait for Renna to get her service dog, or hey, how much more could I give you to make sure Renna gets her dog by Christmas? We know that that's, not possible. But what does that process look like moving forward? Because so many people have helped us, and I wish it could be like, you helped us, here's our dog, but it's a process. And so
Yeah.
if you could just maybe quickly kind of lay it out, uh,
Yeah.
just a little bit more step by step, but
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it's a long period to wait and you're sitting on pins and needles waiting, but I feel like the time goes by so quickly just because you're so excited. Like it'll be here before you know it and you'll be in Ohio having fun meeting your pup. But during that awaiting placement stage, it's checking in with our client services team. So we reach out periodically, letting you know where we're at in the process and sending you those forms or video links that we need. And then being like, hey, thank you so much for sending those. We're reviewing them now. Now it's time for a call. So you'll have another call with the client services team about 6 months prior to meeting your pup, and that's where we review that making a good match form, like we talked about, discussing that personality and best match, and that's where we start identifying the dog that would be best for Renna and training them. So then we will call you 3 months prior to class and let you know, like, hey, we've identified that dog. They're already working towards Renna. They're doing great. We know that they're going to be successful. So here's your dates to come to class. And then the next time you hear from us is the most exciting time. It's 3 weeks prior to class, and that's when you get to know your match. So that's when we reach out with the picture of the pup, their name, birthday, parentage. We give you guys contact information for the volunteers. So if you want to reach out to get puppy pictures while they've been in their journey, just to kind of see everything that they've done before they've met you. And then it's just preparing for class and coming here to Ohio. And the first day of class is always on a Wednesday. It's in the morning, and you get to go into a private room. Just you and Renna, and the dog will be brought in, and you get to spend a little bit of time with them, meeting them, giving them treats, starting that bonding. And then after that, it's just the rest of your lives together.
My goodness, when you're saying like Renna meeting this dog, I just pictured her sweet little face and her little smile. Dogs love her and she loves dogs, and they tend
Yeah.
to give her kisses. And she does this. She goes,
Oh, she's
she like is like, what's happening? But
Mhm.
she just, oh, I can't wait. She's gonna
It's
be
a
so
special
happy.
day. Yeah.
Yep, that sweet little smile is gonna make the wait all worth it, right?
Yeah, it's a special day.
Yeah, for sure. I did have one more question and I
Mhm.
totally lost it. Um, I'm gonna remember as soon as we get off.
That's okay. Yeah, I think we touched on a lot though. Yeah.
We definitely did. Um, oh, I know what it was.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we can wrap it up.
Sure. Yeah.
So I know I was talking about how I found like this new passion
Mhm.
with all this fundraising. So I actually have a little like side business that Renna has inspired me to start years ago. And I basically set up exclusive partnerships with products that we already have and love that has made our lives easier, or I research and find new products,
Mhm.
work on getting partnerships, and then asking for discounts to share with our community.
Yeah.
Um, I'm working on revamping the website totally. It's rennascorner.com, but I'm will be totally revamping it, highlighting more of those partnerships because I think we have maybe 30
Wow.
of them, and then having a section with like blogs that could help families that have kids with disabilities. And then the newest section that this journey has inspired me to do is have more of like a fundraising section
Mhm.
where there would be tools, there would be I can help connect families with that Support Now platform. And if they're local, we could do events to pool
Mhm.
in funds. Because, like I said, there's multiple local families raising funds for their service dog, and they don't have the community and the outreach that we've seen.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited. I don't know exactly what that will all look like. We're hoping to take some of the overflow and maybe bless another family
Mhm.
that's going through Four Paws with just some additional funds to help with their service dog. But I'm just really excited about what that might look like in the future, and I'm hoping some of the revamping of the website might go live in February.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just some really exciting things going on in the future, and it's all because of our sweet girl Renna. And
Mhm.
so very excited about some of that stuff, and obviously the dog. Um,
Yeah.
do you have anything that you want to leave us with or add?
Yeah, no, I think it's just so great how you have like just you took this and ran with it and had so much success with Renna, and now you're wanting to help out other families in similar situations. I think it's so great, and I love that it has inspired you so much. I love fundraising, so this is also one of my favorite things to do. And I also think that would be a great resource to provide, like we talked about that family network page, sharing those products and stuff that you found. I think other families would love to hear about that, and that's just a great place to connect with people and see where there are needs and see what you can find and just assist them that way also. So I think it's just so great what you're doing, and I'm so excited for Renna.
Thank you. Me too. So how, if families are watching this or listening to this and they're interested in learning more about Four Paws or starting the process,
Mhm.
where can they find you? What should they do?
Yeah, so if you go on our website, forpawsforability.org, there's a little tab called Our Dogs, and you can apply for a dog that way. Our email is also always welcome for questions and to walk you through the process. The easiest one is probably info@forpawsforability.org. We'll field any questions that you have, set up a phone call, walk you through the process. But that's kind of the first steps is just reaching out to us or doing the online application to start the process. But if you don't know if a service dog would be helpful or you have questions first, call us. That number is also online and just happy to answer anything and just help you guys out and make this process a little bit easier.
Yeah. What time is the graduation going to be streamed?
Yeah, it's 3 p.m. Eastern time today. Yeah, we have 10 families graduating.
I try to share that. And then you guys are on Facebook and Instagram,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep. Just
Families
for
can
Paws for
follow
Ability
there.
on all platforms. Yep.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate this so much. This has been
Yeah,
so informative. Um, and looking forward to next steps, and we'll stay connected as we move forward.
of course. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Devin.
So, let's see.